Gamer Nation.
The third installment of the now annual Magic the Gathering Duels of the Planewaters series is finally with us, in the form of Magic the Gathering Duels of the Planewaters 2013. Despite its stupidly long name, the game claims to feature updated gameplay as well as a ton of new cards and game modes for you to play around with. But does Planewaters 13 live up to the hype? Or does it just deserve to be placed at the bottom of the deck? Do you see what? It's a card joke. Yeah, let's start the review! For those who aren't already aware, Magic the Gathering is a trading card game that became popular in the early 90s. The basic premise of the game revolves around players trying to defeat their enemies using a variety of magical cards. Each player chooses a deck, which is commonly associated with an element, before drawing 7 cards. Then, the player must play lands cards in order to build up energy in order to play creatures and spells and artifacts. The game is turn-based, and each turn consists of 3 segments: main, combat, and another main. Main is where you can play cards, and combat is where you attack the enemy. Enemies begin with 20 health, and once their health reaches 0, you win the game. I know it sounds really complicated, but surprisingly enough, the game is incredibly easy to get the hang of. Within the space of maybe 2 games, you'll finally get the hang of it, and suddenly realise that there is a lot of depth and enjoyment to be found within this game. Shortly after that, you'll find your favourite deck, and that's when things start to get addicting. The gameplay is just that right blend of LUT and still that within a couple of games you find yourself completely addicted. Admittedly, sometimes the LUT element of the game does get in your way, especially when you draw a hand of 7 pointless cards and you find yourself unable to play any creature or spell cards because you haven't been given enough lands. Still, this can't be helped, and that random element does make it so that no 2 games are ever the same. Despite its initial appearance, this means that Planewaters 13 could actually be a strong contender for my downloadable game of the year based purely on gameplay alone. I mean, it's just that good, it's just so much fun to play, and you just find yourself wasting hours trying to get that perfect card combination to defeat that tricky opponent. I mean, considering I don't like card games, like I used to have Pokemon cards as a kid, but I never used to play them properly, it should be a good testament as to just how well made this game is, that I've been drawn into this world that I had no interest in whatsoever before I booted this game up. There are 2 main gameplay modes to choose from, single player and multiplayer. Multiplayer is pretty much what you might expect, and it's good, and it's certainly worth it, but I personally enjoyed single player far more. Single player consists of 4 main components: campaign, revenge, plane chase, and challenges. The campaign mode, although quite easy, serves as a great way of getting to really know the game properly, and it also allows you to unlock new cards for your deaths. The real challenge begins in revenge mode, which tasks you against the campaign mode's plane chases, but they're much harder this time around. It's a great challenge and it really puts your skills to the test. Next up is plane chase mode, which pits you against 3 other enemies as you warp between different worlds. Each world has different benefits, and each player takes it in turn to roll a dice in order to decide which world you travel to. This was by far my favourite game mode, as the addition of other players and different worlds really made it that little bit more challenging. And it was good, it's an enjoyable mode. The final mode, Challenges, is pretty much what you can expect. It's basic challenges that you've got to try and overcome, and it's difficult, but it wasn't exactly the most appealing mode to me. That's a lot of single player content, and when you realise that there are an additional 10 deaths to unlock, and that there's 30 cards within each death to further unlock, you kind of start to get an idea of how much content there is for such a low price point. You won't be finished with this game for a long time, and trust me, you'll be enjoying every second of it.
A dark power commanding the dead. Liliana Vess inspires terror. Indebted to demons, entranced in a pursuit of unattainable desire.
The overall presentation is sort of bland in general. I mean, you're basically looking at a desk. It's just a desk, and you're putting cards on the desk. And, you know, if someone walked in the room and saw you, they'd be like, why don't I just do that in real life? Well, yeah, they have a point. Graphically, the game is lacking, and, you know, even the combat effects are a bit lackluster. But, you know, the artwork on the actual cards is beautiful, and you can zoom into these as you're playing, and also the artwork features heavily on the loading screens. So although the overall presentation isn't exactly fantastic or mind-blowing, it's still impressive in its own right, and hell, you won't even be paying that much attention to the presentation when you're halfway through a really, really engaging game. The sound effects are nice though, and even though the music isn't exactly that prominent, it still creates a nice atmosphere. So even then, even though the presentation may feel a bit lacking, it does the job, and you can't really complain about that. Overall, Magic the Gathering Duels of the Planeswalkers 2013 is one of the best downloadable games I've played in a long time. It's fun, it's engaging, it's in-depth, it's sort of beautiful in its own way, and most of all, you are just going to get sucked into this game. It's just so good. Therefore, my overall verdict for this game is buy it. You will not regret it. Hey guys, thanks for watching. For more news, reviews and previews, you can head on over to gamerNation.co.uk, and for more content by me, you can click on the videos below.